So I joined the Codling wind park project 4 months ago. And I think my best experience to date has been meeting all the people, all the skilled people we have. And of course, all the challenges we have in the project as well. I think it's a great time to come in. We are starting to get a sense of the business cases and can start working on improving those cases. My background is in finance and strategy. I have a master's and an MBA from Tokyo, but my path has been a bit uneven. I've spent the first 9 years in pharmaceuticals, in projects and in finance. And then 6 years ago, I joined Ørsted, which is a Danish developer within offshore wind. And there I've been working primarily on the Taiwanese market, which was like Ireland, a new market back then. We had the first major scale wind farm. I've also done a lot of projects in Japan and the US. So that's where my primary experience is from. Ørsted obviously has a big Northern European portfolio, Scandinavian, Northern European portfolio. But I've of course have a lot of best practices that I've adapted from there and then try to use those in Taiwan, in Japan, in the US, so in new international markets outside of Europe. So I think having that experience, trying it elsewhere and now applying it to Ireland is a really good mix. From a finance perspective, offshore wind has also been on a development journey, you could say, with being a very nascent industry. Obviously, there's a lot of education in terms of finance institutions, make sure they're comfortable with the projects we're launching. I think we've also seen a trend in terms of the risk acceptance of offshore. We've seen a lot of examples of offshore being profitable, being a safe enough project to invest in, and that will also spill over to Ireland, obviously. Technology is also a big element in the business cases because we see technology evolving all the time, always improving a bit. But at some point, you have to lock the assumptions and actually build the project based on those technical assumptions. There will always be scope changes we can do along the way, but then you also have the consenting. So at some point, you have to lock in what you're allowed to do and then build it. The business case is impacted by all the changes in the market, supply, demand, but also consenting and the subsidies we can get in different markets. So obviously it's an evolving process. And what really drives the business case certainty is the revenue part. Once you lock in the subsidy, you know what you have. Then of course, production will depend on the technology you have. The business case will depend on the supply demand balance at that point in time when you need to supply all the various components. What we can do is obviously to keep it as flexible as possible, make sure that we can make those decisions, the procurement decisions, at the right time. So the more optionality we have, the better. From a sustainability perspective, financing is obviously an element because we need to do that in a good way. I think it's more the opposite. The demand for the project is there. People want to go into these projects because it is supporting their sustainable profile. And of course, it's not a difficult product to sell sustainability-wise. It's on a good curve. Of course, we have an obligation as a project to also request that from our suppliers, that they live up to certain minimum requirements. I don't think we're being unfair, unreasonable, but that's something we have to take responsibility for in our procurement. What I'm proud of is, of course, a lot of things, but for offshore wind, I think it is that I'm part of an industry that I feel is contributing to the climate, to the world, to my kids' future. So that is definitely a personal motivation for me. I also think in terms of actual products or projects, I think having completed a commercial scale wind farm in Taiwan, the first one in that country with all the issues we had under COVID and being a nascent country and new regulations, has been a major achievement and something I'm really proud of. And I look forward to repeating that now in Codling to make sure that the wind park becomes a success and that we actually deliver to Ireland's green transition.